Hello world, this is Darren Peck from Vida, and today I want to talk to you about travel. So travel has been a very much revolutionary element of my life, both in terms of my well-being and my personal development. So I'll cast your mind back to when I was on a gap year between sixth form and university. I had a friend who shall remain nameless, who we had the idea that we were going to go to Vietnam, and obviously alien country, never really been abroad with like one or two people. I'd been away on the standard sort of party holidays to Europe, but I'd never really been away on a big trip on my own or with a couple of friends. So planned that out, got nearer and nearer to the time. Are we going to book the flights? No, like not yet. And eventually my friend said, haven't got the money, haven't got the time, I'm not going to go. And I therefore wasn't confident enough at the time to go on my own. So I pulled out, had basically a gap year of pretty much working and having operations. I'll talk more about that on another video. So yeah, I was working like six days a week, most weeks, also volunteering. I had 3 jobs, plus the volunteering element. Yeah, so it was pretty much all graft. Anyway, I digress. So then when I went to university, I moved into halls. I moved into one of the cheaper halls because I think I knew the value of money after working for a year, and how hard it was to come by, and how I wanted to have more disposable income and a less plush or luxurious accommodation. So I moved into Bates and Hall of Residence, University of Portsmouth, and yeah, people likened it to a prison because it was so bad. It was actually exactly what I needed, but anyway, again, I digress. So all the people who were in D and E block of University of Portsmouth at Bates and Hall, a vast majority of them had taken gap years, and out of that vast majority of gap year people, they had gone away and they'd gone travelling. So the whole first year of university, constantly talking to people about travelling. Oh, you know, Southeast Asia, all these exotic, crazy places, done all these, you know, activities like bungee jumping or scuba diving and things like that. And I was like, I've got to go. So I was very careful with my money for university, particularly from my first year of university. And yes, I had enough money in the bank to go, and I went around Southeast Asia. And honestly, it was the best thing I'd ever done. It was a thrill a minute. It was, you know, I landed in Bangkok on like 12 o'clock. I got a taxi to my guest house that I'd bought, my hostel that I'd booked. I'd pre-booked it so that I could get down there, get feet on the ground, and yeah, just really like get stuck in, but also have that safety net. I've already got something booked. I can get my head down. I'm probably going to be a little bit jet lagged. I've already got somewhere to go to. I can get a taxi there. It's not too much for my first day of traveling solo. So unfortunately, after an hour of the taxi driver trying to asking people all around the streets, he couldn't find it. So I actually was in the middle of Bangkok, first time traveling. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning by that time. I was on my own, and yeah, I had to just go and try and find a backup location. Yeah, I had to just go and find another guest house essentially. So 2 or 3 down the line of no availability, I found one, jumped in, got my head down, and then yeah, that was the start of transformational adventure. And since then, yeah, I've done 7 weeks all around Thailand, Vietnam, Laos and Cambodia. Met some amazing people, done some things I've never done, got myself in some little bit sticky situations on a few occasions, but nothing that you know, I came away unharmed for. And obviously those not so positive environments sometimes, or situations that you get yourself into, you do learn the most from. So it was very much a big learning exercise for me, and then from then I was just hooked. So yeah, I went back to university, done another year of uni. I done a placement between my second and third year of uni. So I worked for something like 12 out of the 14 weeks that we had off for summer leave, and then went straight to Sharm el Sheikh with two of my friends, and done a PADI scuba dive course, and then had another week like riding quad bikes in the desert, and like camelback riding, and visiting the like sort of Bedouin huts and stuff like that. So yeah, another fantastic experience. And then I got offered halfway through third year, I got offered a role back at the place I'd done the internship, a company called Prevectus Remediation. And I was like, great, fantastic, thanks for, showing faith in me. I would like to come back, but I really want to go traveling. And they were like, oh, well, we've got jobs on. We really want you to start as soon as possible. So I managed to wrangle a month between finishing uni and starting at Prevectus. And so I finished university. My final exam was on the Monday. I left Portsmouth on the Wednesday. I left for Japan on the Friday. I'd done 27 days in Japan, all around Japan, Western Japan predominantly, and then I got back on the Saturday, and then I started work for Prevectus on the Monday. So I maximised my time off. And again, the travel bug was still there. I was still going on small trips, particularly taking advantage of Europe, living in obviously Essex and working in London. I was all around the country. Sorry, for Prevectus. I was, on the doorstep of Europe, so I managed to get a few trips in, weekend breaks and things like that. And then I essentially decided that I was going to leave Prevectus. I got a place on the graduate scheme at Mace, and out of 500 people that interviewed, there was 2 places offered, and I was lucky enough to get onto that. So I handed my notice straight away at Prevectus, and this is around the mid-February time of 2015. And a week later, after handing my notice, my Mace rang me back up and were like, want you to start early. We want you to start in June as opposed to September, when the graduate scheme was kicking off, middle of September. So negotiated a bit with them, and then so I've managed to finish it at Prevectus around sort of middle of March, end of March. I had an induction day for Mace around early April, and then as soon as that I'd finished, I then flew to Central America. So I had 8 full weeks in Central America, and I flew into Cancun in Mexico, in the Yucatan, and I travelled all the way through Central America, again solo, over the 8 weeks. I went from there down to Tulum, and then I went to a place called Bacala Laguna. Then I took a ferry from the border at Chetumal into Belize, and on into Quiculca. Stayed on Quiculca for a while, and then I got a bus from there into Guatemala. I think it was to Flores, and then Flores I went from there to Sumic Champey, which is fantastic. And I travelled, say, all the way through Guatemala, and then I decided, as I was travelling solo, and at the time El Salvador and Honduras were quite dangerous, so I decided to go all the way through from there to Nicaragua, and took a fantastic time in Nicaragua. One of my favourite places in the whole world was Little Corn Island, which is a tiny island in the Caribbean. You're eating fresh lobster every day. I rode a horse for the first time all around the island, which he kept stopping in the rainforest to eat mangoes, so I nicknamed the horse Mango. And then we rode in the surf, bonfires on the beach. I'd done yoga for the first time actually in Little Corn, on a deck. There was a hostel called the Lighthouse Hostel, and we stayed in log cabins at the top of the island, and then there was a new deck that they'd built, and we done sunrise yoga, and it was for the first time I'd done yoga. And literally at the sort of mindfulness sort of meditation element at the end, you're lying down on the deck. It's really quiet, like 6 in the morning, and you can just hear the ocean breaking in the distance. And yeah, what a fantastic place to do a yoga for the first time. And then we'd have like delicious coffee, and then that was it for the day. Then get on with whatever you want to do, island life. So yeah, so I carried on from there into Costa Rica, and then on from Costa Rica to Panama, and then yeah, flew home and then started at Mace. And then since then I've kind of been working continuously professionally for both Mace and now most recently Babcock. So I haven't had that long enough time for significant travel trips, but I've made the most of it. So 2 or 3 years into working for Mace, I got the opportunity to go out to Australia. So I lived out in Australia for just shy of 2 years, and any bit of annual leave that I got, any public holiday, was traveling. So I managed to do the East Coast between Christmas 2019 and New Year of 2020. Fantastic trip. One of the best trips I've probably ever done. Something like 18 days. Flew into Cairns and then flew out of Brisbane and went from Cairns down to Magnetic Island. Sailed on the Whitsundays. I was on Whitsundays on Boxing Day of 2019, sailing around there for 2 days on a liverboard with a load of Irish people. It was absolutely fantastic. Got to do a bit of scuba diving there as well, which is awesome. And then from there we went down to Fraser Island, Rainbow Beach, and on into Fraser Island. I was on Fraser Island on New Year's Day 2020. We partied in the desert, the island, Kalgoorlie, or Fraser Island, and yeah, fantastic. Quite a lot of drinking. Again, I managed to get in a tag-along Jeep. There's a tag-along tour there where you drive 4x4 Jeeps all along the beach, and we got involved in a group of, I think there was 6 Irish people, one Russian, and then myself, flying the British flag. So yeah, but there was a lot of drinking. And then at 10 o'clock Australia time was the same corresponding time for London and Dublin and Belfast. So we got up on the tables and drunk a few drinks and sung Old Lang Syne at 10 in the morning. Obviously still drunk, kick-ons from the night before. So yeah, not that I condone drinking to excess, but it was absolutely a great time, and yeah, a memory I'll never forget. So yeah, some of the other trips I've done when I was out in Australia, went up to Darwin in the Northern Territory and done a sort of 3-day tour out in the Northern Territory, up in the Kakadu and Litchfield National Parks, which was fantastic again. Really good fun, and actually one of my favourite places in Australia was Mount Bundy Reserve. So we stayed on a reserve with a load of like cattle and other livestock, but it was right out in the bush, like proper what you'd think of stereotypical Australia. It's out in the bush. They actually filmed some of Crocodile Dundee. I know, stereotypical, but Australian film. Yeah, so they actually filmed some of Crocodile Dundee in the Kakadu. So I visited some of those places. But yeah, Mount Bundy Reserve, it was great. It was just proper out in the wilderness, proper like basic living. But yeah, it was a fantastic trip. And then also, which I'm going to release soon on my personal YouTube, is we done a trip. My mum and dad came over from the UK and they stayed with me for a month, and we flew from Sydney to Adelaide in South Australia, and we picked up a motorhome and we drove all the way from South Australia into Melbourne, all along the Great Ocean Road, and then all the way back into Sydney. We went to like Bateman's Bay, we went to Geelong, we went to some fantastic beaches, saw kangaroos in the wild. We absolutely had a fantastic time. Built some memories with my parents, which not a lot of people have probably done, like a long extended travel trip like that with your parents. It was fantastic just to have have fun, talk to them at length, no stress, share that experience with them. It was fantastic. It was actually my mum's 58th birthday when we were at the 12 Apostles. So when we got back to the car, I rushed back and made a good old cup of tea and got her a birthday cake. So yeah, it's just a fantastic trip. So yeah, and there were numerous others. And one notable one, I've done a scuba diving trip up to Nelson's Bay from Sydney, and we dived or dove, I can never remember the right order for this one, with some not black tip reef sharks, grey nurse sharks. There were grey nurse sharks, black tip reef sharks, and Port Jackson sharks, all on this dive site that we dove. And the biggest one was about 8 foot. So we had 3 of them circling around us, completely docile, but such a fantastic experience to be that close to some, like, yeah, phenomenal creatures. So that was another, memory I'll never forget. Another noteworthy trip, we done the West Surf Morocco. If you look them up, I'll put them on my YouTube, and in the description. Essentially in 2018, it's quite a tough year. Had a lot of things going on personally. I had unfortunately I lost one of my friends to suicide in 2018. I was also doing up my own house. I bought a house independently and was doing up my own house and let it out to lodgers. So I was also working full-time corporately. I was commuting a lot. It was a really stressful year. And towards the end of that, I went out to Morocco. On this West Surf Morocco. There's a lady called Janina. She's a German lady, runs this hostel with her husband, and yeah, fantastic trip. It was a week of surf and yoga. So you would get up for sunrise yoga. You'd have a nice nutritious breakfast. At the time I was doing things called no meat November. So I was fully vegetarian for the whole month, and yeah, so we'd get up, we'd have a nutritious breakfast, then we'd go down to load up the wagon, get down to the beach, morning surf, chill on the beach, have some lunch, afternoon surf, get back, freshen up, yoga, evening meal on the terrace looking out across the ocean. And then yeah, Morocco's a dry country, so there wasn't really much like sort of drinking involved, which is obviously fine, but it was actually a really wholesome trip. So you actually sat like around the bonfires just talking. It was predominantly a sort of German, Italian or sort of European kind of vibe in the hostel. There wasn't really many other nationalities there. Whole time I was there, bearing in mind you've got people coming and going every single day, I was the only British guy for the whole of British guy, girl or other for the whole time I was there. So it's quite funny because obviously 2018 Brexit's just happened. There was a lot of banter flying around my way, but yeah, it's just such a great trip. So I mean, this is just coming up for 20 minutes now, and yeah, I'm just saying, like, if you ever get the chance to travel, which most people realistically, if you balance out your finances, you save on things that you don't need, which is something that I've always done. I've never really been materialistic. I've never really spent money needlessly. I've always had like quite basic clothing. I've always had quite basic needs when it comes to materialistic possessions. Always been very careful with my money. Never really ate out at fancy restaurants and things like that. When the treats, you know, with big birthdays and big events like that, and I've treated my parents to things like that when I've got promotions at work and stuff like that. But yeah, never really like flashed the cash needlessly, or not when it's going to give me an experience or a benefit. And that's how I've saved money and been able to travel so much. And I say, when you travel, particularly when you travel abroad to some of these places, the cost of living is so much lower, so your money goes that much further, and you have experiences and memories that last a lifetime. So yeah, it's just fantastic. So, and bringing it back full circle, why am I talking about travel so much and just going off on a bit of a tangent? Yeah, travel is such a big thing for your well-being. It's time out from the stresses and strains of modern life. It's, yeah, it gets you out of your comfort zone. It gives you more time to do things like journaling, yoga, meditation, develop your hobbies like photography, videography. It also gets you meeting loads of people, putting yourself in situations that you've never been in, eating new food, experiencing new things. And obviously that's a massive element of the personal development element, which is one of our core tenets. So yeah, that's the rationale behind this video. If you get a chance to go traveling, please do, and please prioritize it. Yeah, I'm hoping to do some more traveling in the near future. It's a fantastic part of life, really. So yeah, this is Darren Peck from Recrovida, Rejuvenate Life.